So we call this one the island. And the island is like a reality show. You know Survivor? Yeah? So you apply for that show, and basically they take time, and then around a year after your application, they came back to you and they said, hey, we accept you, you're going to go on the island. Okay? It's exactly like Survivor. The only difference is that island is, the island itself actually is a living creature, if you want. So it has that tendency to use anything against you, okay? So whatever you have on the island, if you have a knife, for example, it could use the knife to stab you, okay? And we don't know how, it's not even technology, it's just a magical place of some sort, but anything you don't have full control over, the island will use against you. And the trick is if you can survive a full week on the island, right? If you survive a full week on the island, they will film the whole thing, millions of people will see it, and you will end up winning $10 million, right? So as you go meet the host of the show, she basically likes you, and she says, hey, you know what, I'm going to give you the tip. Don't take anything with you that you don't have full control over, okay? Take anything that will help you survive for a week, but don't take anything that you don't have full control over. So in 1 minute, I'm going to ask you to list down what you will take with you, okay? Take with you things only that you have full control over. 1 minute, let's go. Okay, shout out. What will you take with you? Food. Water? Sorry, boats? Clothes. Okay? A mirror. Oh, who said that? Of course. I know, for signals. Okay, I'll take that. Sorry. Okay. I definitely wouldn't take a mirror. It's like for me, a week without seeing him, that's good news. Okay. Yeah. All right? Say? I couldn't hear that. Swiss Army knife, okay. Right. Shoes? Fine. Knowledge. Take knowledge, okay. Tarp, what's that? Like a tent. Tent, okay, yeah. Oh, so these are good enough examples. Food. You have full control over food? Can it not choke you? Water? Have you ever choked on water? Can it drown you? Clothes? Does it shrink? Does it wear? Does it tear? Do you have full control over it? Can you make sure that it's always in good condition? Shoes? Don't they hurt your foot and, injure you sometimes? Tent? Can it not collapse on you? Can it not fly in the wind when you're inside it? Swiss Army knife? Hey, seriously? Right? That's going to kill you. If the island takes control of your mirror and breaks it and injure you with it, right? Maybe concentrate the sunshine a little bit on you. Think again. Think again. What do you have control over? Knowledge? Do you have really control over knowledge? When we just said that knowledge is an illusion, can it not, delude you is the right English word? Just yourself. Your attitude. Okay, so I'm not going to take a lot of time on this, okay? Truth of the matter is, between butterfly effects and black swans, there is literally nothing you have full control over. Okay? There are two things I will mention at the end that you have full control over. Right? You know what black swans are and butterfly effects are? Okay, so black swans are major events that are totally unexpected, like a World War II or the existence of the internet, that completely change everything. Massive events. Okay, this is Nassim Taleb's brilliant book, The Black Swan, right? It's massive events that completely change everything. Okay, the problem with black swans is they do happen. Right? They do happen. So we plan our lives expecting that life will not have a black swan. We plan our life expecting that every swan will be white. Okay? Once one black swan happens, nothing is the same again. A World War II, and nothing is the same again. Google comes into existence, and advertising and business and knowledge and freedom of expression is never the same again. Okay? And these are very easy to recognize, and they happen all the time. The ones that are a lot more elusive are butterfly effects. And butterfly effects are not just a name, they're actually true. You know, I don't remember the name of the scientist that came up with, that coined the term, but basically he was doing analysis on wind patterns and tiny, tiny variations that are equivalent to the flapping of the wings of a butterfly would drastically change the end results. Okay? So the flappings of the wing of a butterfly in Brazil might actually lead to a hurricane in Florida. Okay? Those tiny, tiny, tiny changes literally change everything. But those black swans happen occasionally. Butterfly effects happen all the time. Like literally all the time. Okay? And between those two, totally, nothing is within control. Okay? I planned everything. I'm an engineer. A control freak, as a matter of fact, at a point in my life. I planned everything. I planned the financials of my kids, then I added insurance policies on top of that, then I bought them properties to make sure they're going to be safe, then I made sure that the properties were insured, then I bought them, I built businesses so that they run them when they grow up. Okay? Serious control. I mean, I know what I'm doing. This is what I do for a living, right? Managing finances, my cake. I do that, right? And then the guy dies. He leaves. How much of a control is that? Could I have ever anticipated this? Could I have ever anticipated that this was going to be the one hospital, okay, where the surgeon makes that kind of mistake? It happens, I think, 1 in 10 million, okay? 1 in 10 million I don't know the name of the operation, never will. 1 in 10 million goes wrong. Was there any way I could control for that? Was there any way I could have said, no, let's not do it? Was there any way I could have said, let's take him to another hospital? Okay? How much is that for control? How many people were refinancing their houses in 2007, getting money out, going to Disneyland, then the housing bubble collapses, and you end up foreclosed on the street? Okay? While housing pricing have always gone up. Boom! Overnight, you're out of a job, you're out of a house, you're foreclosed. How can you plan for that? If you go through life thinking that you can go through life with control, you're going to end up always disappointed. I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Don't assume that I'm saying you should let go. Okay? But you're always going to get disappointed. The reality of life is if your expectation is that you're going to have control, events are always going to beat your expectations. They're always going to disappoint you because events are not going to be within control. Why? Because of butterfly effects and black swans. So when events happen in a way that you didn't want them to happen because you were controlling for something different, your happiness equation breaks. Every time your happiness equation breaks, you're unhappy. But there is a way where you can thrive when life goes out of control. Okay? There is a way where control doesn't become a prerequisite for your happiness. Okay? Which Mona, I think, said one of the two things that you can control. There are really only two things you can control. Okay? Do you want to take a minute to think about them? Mona said your attitude. You can control your attitude. What else can you control? And you can control your focus. Okay? Focus doesn't impact on life. It impacts on your head. But what impacts on life? What impacts on the world around you that you can control? Actions. Right? The only two things in life you can control are your actions and your attitude. As simple as that. Okay? You cannot control the results of your actions. You cannot control the impact of your attitude on you or anyone around you, but you can control your actions and you can control your attitude. Okay? Now, when things go out of control, I'll go back to algebra. When we tell you to solve an equation like this, a plus c equals 2b plus c, what do you do with c? You take it out of the equation. Okay? When things go out of control, when events happen unlike how you want them to happen, what do? You solve the rest of the equation. You don't solve the part of the equation that is related to the part that's out of control. Okay? Now, here is how you can think about your actions and your attitude. Your actions. Let's go back to the blank brain test. Remember the blank brain test? I asked you to think of something that made you unhappy, okay, at the beginning of the session. Think of something that made you unhappy, but we'll take 1 minute, okay, to think of steps that you can do to make things better. Okay? So you thought that an Uber driver made you unhappy. What steps can you take for you to not to fix Uber? What steps can you take? Okay. By the way, I like Uber. Hey, right? I'm a Google executive. I shouldn't be saying this. But just the example: the taxi driver made you unhappy. What steps can you take now to make yourself happy again? Okay. 1 minute, one event. It doesn't have to be the same. What can you do to make yourself happy? Okay. Something made you unhappy. You now have a list of actions that you can take to make things better. Okay. Are things better? Whichever. You have a list of actions that aim to change the world in an interesting way. Okay? Can make you happier or can make the situation better. I was asking about happier, but it doesn't matter. You have a list of actions. Does having the list of actions make you happier? Does having the list of actions change anything? No. Okay? The thought about actions doesn't do anything. When do things change? When you actually take the action. You understand that? So all thought in the world doesn't change anything. Go ahead.
I don't really understand the difference between attitude and action.
We'll come to that in a minute. I'll talk to you about attitude in a minute. Okay? But I want you to think about actions, right? So every thought you will ever have in life, okay, will just be a thought until you turn it into an action. Do you agree with that? And until you turn it into an action, all of your thought has zero impact on the world. You agree with that? It has an impact on you. It can make you happier or sadder or whatever. It just has no impact on the world. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions we have is that our thoughts change the results we have at the end of our life. So if I am ambitious, okay, as an attitude towards life, it creates lots of thoughts in my brain that make me believe I should work hard to achieve my ambitions. If I don't actually work hard, nothing will happen. You realize that? It's only when you work hard that something will happen. Now, here is the interesting bit. But the action is decoupled from the thought. Because I don't have to be miserably ambitious to actually work hard. I can work hard without being ambitious. Okay? I can run for safety without being scared. You understand the difference between them? The action, the thought is not always a prerequisite to the action. You can still take the action without having the prerequisite thought that drives the action. And if you do take the action, the result will be achieved. Okay? Did I confuse you on this? I did. Okay, ask a question. Yes?
There needs to be some motivation for the action. If it's not manifested in a thought, then what causes the
Correct.
action?
There needs to be a motivation for the action. Okay? That motivation could be, I want to do the best I can. Okay? That motivation could also be, I'm so miserable, I need to change my life. Right? Both of them are thought forms. Regardless, none of them has an impact on the real world. The only impact on the real world is when you take an action. Correct? So if we manage our thought and still take the action, we will still achieve the result. Is that fair? So the only thing you have control over is the action. All of your thoughts don't make any difference. Now let's go to attitude, and then we'll have a chat at the end. Oh, by the way, sorry. So your actions. My best example of actions is Apollo 13. Have you seen the movie? It's a bit too old for most of you guys. It was a big thing for us. Tom Hanks, playing the role of the captain of the mission Apollo 13. That mission midway had some kind of an oxygen tank blast where basically everything went out of control completely. And that moment when everything was going well and then the blast happened, basically the astronauts realized that one, they're not going to land on the moon, the mission that they've dedicated their life for, but two, they're probably going to die. Okay? And so, as a result, in a memorable moment for most of us old people, Tom Hanks goes to play the story again on the radio, talks to Houston headquarters and says, Houston, we have a problem. Just as if he has a flat tire, sort of. It's like, hey, you're in the middle of space, it's going to get really, really cold, you're going to die, seriously. He says, Houston, we have a problem, right? During the next hour of the movie, they talk about it, they analyze what the issues are, they find a novel solution, they make some kind of an apparatus that basically recycles oxygen and saves some power, and anyway, they land safely, okay? His other reaction could be, Mayday, Mayday, we're all gonna die, right? And he could have taken the same actions and they would land safely, or he could have taken different actions and they would have all died, okay? Now, I need you to start asking yourself, how do we normally react when things go out of control? The right reaction is Apollo 13. Like, okay, Houston, we have a problem, right? We have a problem, we're going to take the right steps, we're going to try our best, we'll see what happens. Let's talk about attitude. One of my favorite stories is the story of Tim and Tom, okay? Tim wakes up in the morning, his alarm clock rings, he presses the snooze button twice, he's late, okay? Opens his eyes, it's 8:35, oh my God, I had a 9 o'clock appointment, looks out of the window, it's raining like crazy, which means I'm gonna even be later, I'm definitely going to miss that appointment, okay? He jumps out of bed, doesn't shave, looks really shabby, puts something on, runs to the car, and drives like a maniac. And just like the movies will tell him, he would bang on the steering wheel saying, come on, when somebody slows down in front of him. The exact role as we are taught to play. Anyway, it's rainy, so the car behind him slips. It hits him a small, dent in the back of his car. He comes out of the car really, really angry. He bangs on the hood of that other car. The poor little girl is there, like scared. He's a maniac. A policeman sees him. He detains him. Tim ends up in jail, okay? Right? Tim woke up today in the morning, truly believing it was going to be a bad day. It ended up being a bad day, right? Tom wakes up, hits the alarm snooze button twice. It's 8:35. He wakes up. He goes like, oh man, I'm going to miss that meeting. Looks outside. It's raining. He texts his contact and says, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be 20 minutes late. His contact texts back saying, oh, I know, I am too. It's rainy. Don't worry about it. He says, going to be a great day. Going to be a great meeting. Takes a good cup of coffee, a CD of Tina Turner's I Can't Stand the Rain. It's like literally, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel. The car behind him slips. Boom, it hits him. He comes out, he looks at his car, finds that it's okay, goes to her and says, are you okay? And she says, yeah, I am. I love the music you're playing. They end up dating that night, ends up being a great night. Okay? Happens, right? What's the difference? Tim's attitude dictated his actions, right? And when your attitude is it's going to be a crappy day, it ends up being a crappy day. It's as simple as that, doesn't it? Okay? Tom's attitude dictated his actions. When your attitude is, it's going to be a good day, I'm going to do the best I can, everything's going to be fine, most of the time, unless you're nudged, it's going to be fine. Okay? So the best example I always remember about your attitude is the movie Life is Beautiful. La Viva e Bella, I think. My Italian is horrible. Any Italians in the audience? Okay. Anyway, that movie is about a Jewish father whose whose family is basically captured, put in a concentration camp, and he realizes how much hardship his son is going to go through that through that experience. So he convinces his son that this is just a game, okay, and that the winner is going to win a tank. And so accordingly, he tells his son that it's good for you to hide, because then as you hide, you can really win points. And the guards are really harsh to you because they too want to win the tank, okay? And so the son plays through the horrible experience as fun, okay? And in a very, very interesting way, the son comes out safe of that experience, never really realizing the hardship that he had to go through, okay? And I really, it's one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, because you're in a concentration camp. How much harder does it get, right? But you can still turn that into a game and at least save the mood of your son. And because he saved the mood of his son, and because his son was playing the game, the son becomes safe. I call that committed acceptance, okay? Committed acceptance is truly core to what I think happiness is all about. Committed acceptance is, we were talking about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you can do something about it, okay, it's within your area of influence, do something about it. If it's outside your area of influence, it's in your area of concern, then just behave without C in the equation, okay? If you can do something about it, then do it and be happy. If you cannot do anything about it, then just go on and be happy anyway, okay? And committed acceptance is not being laid back or giving up or not being ambitious, okay? It has nothing to do with the starting point. It just has to do with detachment from the end result, okay? So I would meet with clients, I would do my absolute best to convince them of my product, I would do my absolute best to give them a good deal and give us a good deal and find a meeting point where we have a good deal for everybody. If the deal doesn't happen, I don't kill myself, okay? I go on with life, I do the next deal. Okay? And I don't tell myself deals are never going to happen, life is unfair. I just go on. Okay? Committed acceptance, in my view, is one of the cornerstones of being happy. Okay, with that, we can go to the next illusion. Oh, by the way, before we move away from control, the beauty of the illusion of control is that the reverse side of lack of control is what we call serendipity. Okay? So because we lack control, good things happen too. Don't ever forget that. Good things happen too, like the guy that hands me the phone and says, Google. Go ahead, talk to Google. Okay? That is truly out of my control. That is truly not what I wanted to happen, because at the time I was super happy at Microsoft. Okay? If you're optimistic, again, part of your attitude, if you're optimistic, life will behave in a way that allows that optimism to happen. As Paulo Coelho says in The Alchemist, when you know what you want from life, when you know your life's purpose, the universe conspires to help you make it happen.